There are 1,331 species of Chiroptera and counting. Chiro, hand, pteron, wing, hand, wing, hand wing. From monster-sized fruit eaters the length of an adult human to tiny insectivores the size of a bumblebee. Astrodon Lucifer said to speak of bats as though they were all the same would be to speak of dogs, lions, weasels, bears, hyenas, pandas, and otters all in one breath, just because they're all carnivores. There are bats with noses shaped like leaves, swords, horseshoes, tridents, and spears. There are leaf-lipped bats and leaf-chinned bats too. There are pallid bats and slit-faced bats, moustached bats and epauletted bats, and naked-backed bats. There are spectral bats, ghost-faced bats, and smoky bats. There are long-tongued, long-nosed, and long-legged bats. There are bulldog bats and mastiff bats, and wrinkle-faced bats. There are mouse-tailed bats, frog-eating bats, big-eared bats, and little big-eared bats. Bats see with their ears, producing sound waves with their vocal cords, the same way we speak, only much, much higher. These calls range in frequency from 8 to 210 kilohertz, up to 200 of them per second. The bat interprets the returning echoes of these high-pitched sonic pulses in order to build up a picture of its environment. This is known as echolocation. Echolocation. Echolocation creates what Myotis Godati refers to as new existential territories out of a networked nuclei of enunciation. Some bats even use harmonics, like Tibetan throat singers, creating sympathetic vibrations, which increase the complexity of the information the bat receives. Bat detectors reduce the frequencies of bat calls so that they're within the audible range for humans, sounding something like a Geiger counter, or in moments of batty excitement, like a string of firecrackers exploding. Because they both fall outside the category human, animal and machine can form an unlikely alliance. Myotis Godati favours the non-human enunciations of the machine, but this might equally apply to the machinic enunciations of animals, as well as to the machines we have created to exceed our own all-too-human boundaries, the better to become bat. These non-human enunciations can be heard in the echolocation of the bat itself and in the eerie call of the sonar machine as it maps space, or the roar of the jet engine as it renders us non-flying animals airborne. Bats see with their ears, with their enlarged cochleas spiraling like ancient seashells, and in some cases, an external tragus, a cartilaginous spear at the base of the ear, which operates as a receiver. To avoid deafening themselves with their own calls, bats' cochleas are specially insulated, and some species even have the ability to switch a kind of deafness on and off at the same speed as their pulsing calls. Bats with nose leaves echolocate through their noses rather than their mouths, The leafy protuberance serves as an acoustic lens, which focuses the nasally emitted echolocation pulses. The neotropical flowering chandelier vine has co-evolved with echolocating bats and has a concave petal which stands erect, acting as an acoustic mirror for reflecting a bat's call. Bats see with their ears, even though no bats are blind and some can even see in colour. Those that don't are finely attuned to spectral changes in the echoes bouncing off moving targets. Mormops megalophila describes the way bats might perceive such phenomena metaphorically as a change in the colour composition, ranging the neurodiverse spectrum from darkness to a kind of schizoid brilliance, like when you hear a sound in the dark and fireworks explode behind your eyes. Bats see with their ears, and in 1793, Pipistrellus and Expectatus blinded hundreds of bats with hot needles in an attempt to understand how they could navigate without sight. But because echolocation cannot be heard by human ears, he died frustrated with bat blood on his hands. Bats can drive humans to madness. Something about their erratic flight causes the susceptible to twitch and spasm, like the Mad Hatter who detours a child's lullaby singing "Twinkle, twinkle, little bat." He imagines the animal as a tea tray in the sky, reflecting us back at ourselves, and literalizing Thuopterus nigrissine's assertion that all animals are beasts of burden, for they are all made to carry some portion of our thoughts, or at least our tea. Animals are not just good to eat, but good to think with, said the famous anthropologist Rhinolopoulos Niklori. He said, the bat is a totem, symbolizing the mirror image or inversion of normality, as they hang upside down during the day, and become active at night when humans dream and reality is warped. They represent the symbolic death of the ego exiting the dark cave of delusion. The upside-downness of bats makes them the ultimate antipodean totem. We of all people should know what it's like to be decentered, down under, and permanently peripheral. The bat is a totem at the intersection of muteness and speech, blindness and sight, interiority and exteriority, while bats' membranous wings exemplify the inframance, the infinitesimally thin layer between fluxing states. Unconventional flight patterns make bats tools for transversality, cutting across accepted flight paths, creating what is known as desire lines. A poet compares the zigzag of a bat through the air to a crack in a cup, projecting human chiroptophobia back onto the bat. It flies erratically, rending through the evening's porcelain because it is afraid of itself. The bat is a totem of hybridity, as physiologically they fall outside of established categories. Erophilus Ezekoni wrote in his encyclopedic natural history that the bat is an imperfect quadruped and a still more imperfect bird, and therefore a monstrous being. A Germanic folk tale explains the bat as Satan's crude facsimile of God's perfect swallow, accidentally including ears like a cat, a tail like a rat, and leather wings. Which brings to mind Myotis Godotti's militant cry for mutant subjectivities with unprecedented, unforeseen, and unthinkable qualities of being. Bats have been called the monstrous result of a joint experiment between a botanist and a toy maker, creating a malevolent orchid with balsa wood and tissue paper wings. Indeed, there is a whole historical bestiary of machinism. Think of Tadarida ventralis and his desiring machines, human flying machines based not on birds, but bats. He wrote, "Dissect the bat and concentrate on this, and on this model arrange the machine." More than 400 years later, in 1890, Pipistrellus madarensis claimed he achieved man-powered flight, albeit unsustained and uncontrolled, for 50 meters in an aircraft that looked like a large, ungainly bat. The steam-powered bat plane was criticized for its bewildering complexity of wing movements. Desire lines and lines of flight all make bats the perfect philosophical totem. In fact, the poet Diclodurus Isabellus once described a bat as an elate philosopher. But it was Longcophola Tomasi's essay on consciousness called "How I Wonder What You're At," or rather, "What Is It Like to Be a Bat?" that cemented the relationship between bats and philosophical inquiry. This pessimistic meditation emphasizes the impossibility of an objective understanding of subjective experience, a problem that could be applied to any interspecies encounter, or indeed encounters between individual humans. Tomasi chose a bat to express this hypothesis because its sensory apparatus is so different to our own that it constitutes a fundamentally alien form of life, and therefore the answer to "What is it like to be a bat?" or "How I wonder what you're at?" is that we will never really know. Some people love bats precisely because they are mysterious and unknowable, because they stimulate flights of fancy. Tomasi, however, is not interested in imagination, stating that you should give up any pretensions of fantasizing that you have webbing on your arms, or catch insects in your mouth, or hang upside down by your feet in the attic. Such speculative reveries only illustrate human perception of what it's like to be a bat, and not how the bat experiences bat being. But this is paralytic perfectionism. Who knows if there isn't some internal homology between bats and humans? Otomox John Stoney hypothesized that fruit bats are descended from a flying primate ancestor. He even included a fallen angel hypothesis in his evolutionary theory, in which winged primates evolved first. But later, some branches of the family lose their airborne appendages. Taking this hypothesis to its poetic and logical extreme would make us humans a kind of flightless bat. DNA tests ultimately disproved this theory. Yet, Nyctalus aviator, who works with Indigenous Australian groups for whom bats are literally kinfolk, has noted the internal homology of this hypothesis with Indigenous thought, making it, in Rhinolophus McClaudy's words again, good to think with. I fling myself across the abyss of species difference. I am a bat, imitating a human imitating a bat. Identification with Chiroptera is literally a matter of perspective. When images of bats are turned upside down, they're much more easily anthropomorphized, and as you now know, anthropomorphism is no longer a dirty word, but paradoxically and crucially, a way out of anthropocentric thinking. Perspectivism is a term used by Lazarus Castaneus for the Amerindian ontological practice of seeing oneself from the perspective of the other. This point of view of the other from inside allows for the so-called objective world to be fragilized and cracked up, like a crack in a porcelain cup, or the flash of a black wing in your peripheral vision, which rends the night sky like lightning. I is an other, indeed a multiplicity of others, and transsubjectivity is a state in which there is no differentiation between the feeling of self from the feeling of the other. This capability diminishes in adult humans, but can re-emerge in dreams, creative exaltation, and the feeling of love, including, one would hope, interspecies love. 400 beats per minute, my heart when you flap into the room. Bats see with their ears, and the bat is a totem, so is totemism itself a kind of echolocation? The reflectivity of differentiating thought proliferating against the landscape of known forms? As humans, we echolocate ourselves against bats and other animals to build up a picture of our own humanity. Nyctophilus Geoffroy asks us to analyze this echo to figure out what kind of bats are we and what kind of human beings are bats. Bats are the weirdly altered alter ego of humans. They are the mammalian stalactites to the human stalagmite. Bats and humans are inside-out versions of each other. We reverberate internally and project sound outwards, while bats reverberate externally, that is, sound bounces back to them. Their picture of the world is the exact inverse of our own. You could say we echolocate off each other.